Here we go then. Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome along to the Fournilwrittenalloverit Lockdown Live, as we're calling it. Thank you very much for being with us. We're very much looking forward to the next 20 minutes or so of conversation. Here we go then. Hi there. Welcome along. I hope you're all well. Welcome to the stream. I'm delighted to say alongside me, joining me are the crack team that we call the Fournilwrittenalloverit crew. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Good evening, Alexander.
Evening, guys. We're the crack team, are we?
We are the crack. Well, that's what we're calling it. We're the crack team.
What does that represent?
Not the way that you're thinking about it at all.
That's definitely the crack team.
Yeah, I think he's definitely part of that. The way this is going to work tonight, everyone, is we've got a couple of talking points that I want to discuss with the guys. Obviously, we've had a couple of weeks since our last podcast, so we've got plenty to talk about. There's been plenty of developments across the world. To end with, we are going to have, are you ready for this, boys? Hang on, that's in the way. We're going to have the big 4-0 written all over it Pompey quiz, which is covering up Alexander the Negative's face. So that's something to look forward to. And I will explain more when we get there. Right, we are live. Welcome along. Andrew, I want to start with you, mate.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Tom.
What do you reckon? I know we've had a couple of weeks now to kind of, I don't know, process how this has happened. Oh, it's been a couple of months now, isn't it? But what is now, in your way, having seen a lot of different speculation about how we're going to initiate Project Restart, as it's being called, what's the safest way, in your opinion, that football can restart? Maybe in League One, and should everyone in that we've seen today that Premier League are going back to training in small groups and in restricted circumstances, but should League One, Championship, League Two follow suit?
Yeah, Tom, I think so. I mean, the important thing is safety, in it. We've got to make sure that everyone's safe, haven't we? It sounds like a cliche at the minute, but that's how it is. We've got to make sure people are safe and well. That comes well before football, doesn't it? But saying that, we do need to restart it. We do need to complete the season, and this latest, I think the latest idea from many of the clubs is to play that playoff weighted sort of playoff situation where we might end up in the top 6 and play other teams. And I think it sounds like we're playing Oxford if we get there by the weighted system. Can't wait, Tom. Looking forward to it. The sadness is we'll be watching it on this sort of thing, won't we?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Alexander, how do you see the best way forward in terms of football? And I know it's probably going to be one of the last things, isn't it? Big public events and gatherings.
I guess, like with all these things, watching the German stuff at the weekend, it was interesting. I think there was a lot of concern going into that, whether they'd be able to get through, a number of matches safely. And I think it seems like it's gone as well as it possibly can up to now. And if that continues across the next few weeks, then maybe the UK being a bit further behind can start to do the same thing. But I suppose like anything, we're waiting to see, aren't we? We're in kind of uncharted territory. And until we go through a couple of weeks where we play football games and there aren't any infections, and generally it's pretty safe, we won't know if it's the right decision or the wrong one. So yeah, a tough one. But I agree with what Andrew says. It's all about safety first. I suppose the only reason they can start talking about it is because the number of infections is now down to a rate where emergency services aren't overwhelmed, so they can start to have ambulances at matches and things like that, can't they? But so I suppose that's ticked, and then it's just whether or not it's safe for footballers 11 on 11 to be together at the same time, and obviously their families and all the different situations that their families will be in.
Can I put all three of you on the spot by giving you the option? So there's the points per game, there's the weighted points per game, there's a playoffs in some form, whether it be one at home for one team or whatever, but I don't know, or is null and void an option? Which one's your favourite out of those three, Andrew?
Oh,
I think we might have lost him. Where's he gone?
I'm here.
Have you got me?
Oh, he's here.
Oh,
We've got him. Sorry, did you hear my question, mate? No, you didn't. He's gone again. I'll put the same question to you, Alexander the Negative. What's the best out of the three for you?
Yeah, I think probably some sort of playoffs format. However, they come to the top six. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, the more games we have to play, the harder it is going to be to get them done. So I don't think it's possible to get to a position where we play all the remaining games and then play off. So we're stuck with how do we play the playoffs and then get that done before the start of the next season. Weighted points per game, yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I think it's hard, but it seems like we're going to neutral venues, potentially even just one game or potentially two in the same venue. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever they have to do to give safety the best chance of getting through, I suppose.
I think we've got Andrew back. What would be your take on that, mate?
I'm just reading some of the reports coming in. Sometime Duncan Hart's made the observation up there that I'm looking on the screen that we would finish 7th under the weighted PPG system.
It's on your screen as well now.
Pardon?
It's on your screen.
Yeah, due to the weighted the poor away system, poor away points we've achieved this season, we would finish 7th if it was weighted. So that's interesting.
But that's the weight? So that's not the points per game right now? That would be weighted across the remainder of the 9 or 10 games that we'd have to play.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few questions coming in, so I want to go through a couple of them. The ugly Gibbon 360, which is one of the best names I've seen all evening, is saying that. What you say?
He's a good-looking chap.
Yeah. Well, do you think we will see a return of League One, and if so, will we be able to watch it through TV? So, I think the thing is with that is that is there going to be a return of League One in some form anyway? Can we 100% guarantee that, Alexander?
No, I don't think guarantee, but I think it's likely. I think it's likely they do, and if it is available, it will be shown on TV. I mean, broadcasting companies are absolutely desperate for revenue, aren't they? So even if it's just playoffs and just 2 or 3 games in League One, in the Championship, etc., I think they'll broadcast them all across the nation. So I think it may even be free to view. It may even be through BBC, ITV. I'm not sure, but I think everyone will have a chance to watch them if they are available.
I think they must have to make it accessible to all that have a season ticket or have tickets to the games. What do you make of that, Andrew?
Tom, I'm intrigued to see some of the questions coming in, but mate, it's a difficult one, isn't it? We've got to wait and see. This week we will know for sure, and then we'll know our fate, won't we? We'll have another season in League One, and then if we do, we've got the likes of Charlton in there, probably Plymouth Argyle, Swindon, by the sounds of things, maybe even Exeter City. So Ipswich will be in there, won't they? Sunderland. There'll be a few teams in there. That would be interesting to play in either league, but we'd like to get back. We looked at the Championship the other day, didn't we? Look at some of those teams that are in there. That'd be great to go and watch that next season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's some big clubs, aren't there, that arguably belong much more in the Premier League than some of the Premier League clubs do, maybe. But that might be sticking the neck out there. I like how we've all gone for the brand new 4-0, not 4-0, Pompey. Yeah, we've all got the Nike on.
Pompey _fan01. Good evening to you too.
Good evening. A nice pig.
Like the pig.
And Alexander the Negative says pig.
Pig.
Pig. Duncan Hart says that fortunately the most likely outcome is not to use the weighted version. So okay. What does that mean the most likely outcome is? Is it going to be, because we must have to play more games to decide a season. It cannot stay as it is, can it?
Alexander.
No, I think it could. I could think they could just call it as it is, and the top 6, 2 promoted, 4 play playoffs, minimise the number of games, the distance to the next season, and neutral venues, maybe even just one match. I don't know, whatever they have to do to get it done, I suppose, to get it done safely. So I do think that's definitely a possibility.
What happens with which team in the playoffs do you choose then to go up? The top one?
Well, whoever wins. So there'll be 3 matches as a minimum, won't there? So if we finish 6th, say we'll play 3rd, and 4th will play 5th, and then the winner of each of those will play in the final, and that top team will go through and make it 3 into the Championship.
Fair enough. Andrew, you got anything to add on that one?
No, I agree with Alexander, and Duncan's just come back and said, fortunately, the most likely outcome is not to use the weighted version. So I think, like Duncan's saying there, let's hope not, and we can we can get into the top 6 and play those playoffs. It would be interesting because it will be one game, won't it? It won't be 2, and it'll be in a neutral ground with no fans. So fascinating times, really. I don't like to say it, but it's actually quite interesting, isn't it?
We've never had anything like this before, have we? So
No.
it's very, very strange. I wouldn't say it is interesting, isn't it? But it's really kind of, I don't know. It's quite unnerving to think that there might be the possibility that football doesn't continue for this season and for maybe the rest of the year. Anyway, we've got plenty of questions coming in, so we must get through them all. John Reese has said, "All right, lads, hope you're all well." We are, thanks, John. I want to know if there is anyone player you think Pompey can afford, or at least try to after this for when the season's finished. Who would you want to bring in?
Tom, interestingly, if I may answer that one, I read there could be 1,400 players out of contract and with nowhere to go at the end of this season because a lot of clubs won't have the money, given the financial situation, how the impact of Corona on smaller clubs. We might be a little bit more fortunate, us and some of the other clubs, but I don't see Mr. Eisner bailing us out too heavily. But the bottom line is we've got enough sustainable income to push us through to the Championship. A lot of clubs don't have that. So there's going to be 1,400 players. I'd name somebody like Dembele at Peterborough. If they don't get promoted, he'll be off somewhere. They're all going to be relatively, may I say, economic because of the economic situation. And there'll be a review of all the players' wages levels as well, I think. And there should be that managers as well. Because it should be a leveler now, shouldn't it?
I just realised that I think I've accidentally said that Big Reese was called John. I'm assuming that that's his surname. So I apologise, Big Reese, but thank you for joining the stream, and I hope you can stick with us. We've got Pompey fan 01 with a nice pink pig has come back in saying, "My friend spoke to me a while ago about the MK Dons game away, and he mentioned that there seemed to be a rumour about something between Craig and Sean Raggett following the 3-1 loss." I wouldn't have thought we are the people that are most on the inside on that one, but is there anything that either of you can add to that?
Sorry, I didn't catch it, Tom. I missed that question.
So that it's on your screen, mate. You can read it with your eyes.
Not with these eyes, I can't. But it's too far.
No, it's too far away, mate. It's I think it was a bit of a not a handbags, but a bit of a coming together after the. Do you remember the MK Dons game was absolutely horrendous? We had lost 3-1. It was at the turn of the year.
Yeah, and it was on the big screen to my left, Tom. So excuse me for a second, but I didn't know anything about that, Tom. But somebody told somebody that happened in the Dons away game. So
I wasn't aware, but I would imagine it would have been quite a tense dressing room after such an awful performance and result, perhaps.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, Raggett, to be fair, was useless that game, and I don't mind saying that live on TV, but he wasn't he?
Yeah.
Can I come back to the last question?
Sorry,
say, just around the player. You know, you asked if there's one player, who do we go after? I'm not sure about a single player, but I think position-wise, what we've been missing for some time is some sort of creative central midfielder, someone to create chances for some of the guys up front. I think we've struggled to get a consistent striker over the last couple of seasons, but we seem to have a couple of options now. In the Championship, we're going to have to create a lot of chances. And we play quite defensively in midfield, don't we, with 3 sort of holding guys that rotate around. I think we could do with someone a bit more creative. So that would be where I think we can add to improve.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much, mate. We've got a couple more. Another one from Pompey fan 01. I assure you there's more questions, but we will get through them. I'm trying to do them in chronological order. We're a couple of minutes behind, so sorry about that. But just wondering if anyone knows what will be happening between McGillivray and Bass. So I want to spin that question to you both and ask, which one of those would you pick to be our first team keeper? I know Bass had I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but he had a really good record running up to when football was paused or stopped completely, as it might turn out to be. But I think I know the answer to this, Andrew. But which one would you have as your number one?
I think it's all about attitude, but wanting to play for the club, Tom. And I think there was some rumour that McGillivray was going to go to Rangers, and that didn't happen. And they didn't want to play because he was going to go to Rangers. It's all sorts of backroom talk, isn't there? And I like Alex Bass. He's done really well since he's come in. I thought he was a little bit, dare I say, a little bit weenie before this season. A little bit. He's been with us a long time, isn't he, from the academy and whatever. And he's filled himself out a little bit. He looks the finished article. He's doing really well for us, Tom. I like him. I like him a lot. His his distribution is a lot quicker, as I see it, than McGilvery was. But something happened, doesn't it? And Kenny doesn't fancy McGilvery anymore. He was an experienced player, isn't he?
Do you think he was a little bit weenie, Alexander?
I don't know if I'm best to comment on that, mate, but but no, I'm not sure. I think he's right with what he says. Like, I think they're both good options. I mean, I thought McGilvery started really well for us. You know, when he came in, it was a big step up from who we had before. But equally, I think Bass has done well. So I don't know. I guess the bigger question is, if we do end up in the Championship, are either of them good enough for that level? I'm not sure.
Okay, here we go then. Another question come in from Football Grounds. Good evening, guys. Ben here. Hope you're all doing well. Love watching your videos. I'm a Gillingham fan and enjoy my visits to Fratton Park. Keep safe, guys, and hope we play you again next year.
We hope we don't play you again next year, but thank you for the input.
I think Gillingham is now got to be
twice this season.
Did they beat us twice, or did we beat them twice?
No, they beat us twice.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to Gillingham.
Yeah.
Very well done to them. I was going to say that it's one of the only stadiums that I think I can think of off the top of my head, other than Yeovil and maybe Fleetwood and Exeter, that don't have a covered away end in the Football League. Maybe that's a little bit premature, but
and it's always on New Year's Day, isn't it? Away.
Yeah, it's always the Christmas away game is always Gillingham, isn't it?
Yeah.
Little Reese has come back in saying that's definitely a positive answer from the negative himself. So we go. And we've had
I'm not as negative as they make me out to be, Reese. I get a character impersonation. I've got to pull it through, but I'm actually all right. I'm actually not a bad lad.
He's not a bad lad. There's your confirmation, boys. 0-0 and 1-1, so they didn't beat us twies.
Well, there you are. See, 0-0 and 1-1. I knew I'm always right, Tom.
You always get your facts spot on, don't you?
Yeah,
the benches have come in. Millwall fan, keep up the good work. Great channel. You miss Ben Thompson, but he's staying at Millwall. Let's open that one up.
Oh yeah, we do miss Ben Thompson. He was great for us, and actually, he's staying at Millwall. I read in the Pompey News that he's actually coming to Fratton Park again. Millwall, good club. Millwall, like Millwall, they've got a good nucleus of fans, haven't they? They always give us a nice warm welcome when we go there as well.
And he was the first, he was the only, like I was saying before, the only creative midfielder we've had for a good couple of years, where he really made a big difference, didn't he? I remember we went away to Bradford, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's a bit of trouble there. I think they shut the turnstiles or whatever. They would only open 2 turnstiles, so it's a bit mental. Yeah. But I remember when we got in, the game started, and he was the first man on the ball as we got in, and he was the best player on the pitch all game.
Yeah.
So we definitely miss him, and someone like him is exactly who we need.
Yeah.
Can I just say, you will never have a conversation with Alexander the Negative about his experience at Bradford City away without him mentioning the turnstiles. That will never happen. It was an
disgrace.
Disgrace.
It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't fantastic.
Just a message to the Millwall fan, Tom. What was his name? Bless him. Marky's Adventure. Just a message to him. We are coming to get Thompson. He's coming back.
He's coming home.
He's coming home.
He's coming home. We desperately need him as well, especially potentially going into a season in League One. We'll have to wait and see. Duncan Hart has come in saying Oztuma at Charlton would be the perfect number 10 for Pompey. 2 feet, which is always good. You don't want 1 foot in football. That never helps. Amazing range of passing. Free kick expert and fantastic long shot. He's only 5'3", though. Would that matter? Before I ask the question, every single member of this family knows that height is not an issue. It's never an issue.
5'3" is a giant.
That is monumental for us. So height is
tall
not
compared to me.
Exactly. But what I would say to you, Andrew, to start with, is we actually mentioned Charlton fans in a conversation in our back garden actually a couple of days ago. Charlton players, because plenty of those will be out of contract. I want to come on a little bit later. I've written down on the notes that I'd like to talk about some of the maybe even whole football clubs that go under as a result of this virus and therefore cannot continue to compete. We've seen one example in recent times like Bury, but that I don't think that's anything to any stretch of the imagination that that could happen to a vast number of clubs. I think maybe people will follow in very sadly, follow in very sad footsteps. And luckily, as a football club that we all support, that Pompey are looking okay, we're turning a profit, and everything's happy and everything's great. But maybe that's not the similar story for other clubs. What would you make of that? He's gone again. Over to you.
Over to me. What would I make of that? Yeah, I think it's very difficult for a lot of clubs, definitely, as it is for a lot of smaller businesses across the country at this current time. I think the government response has been as good as it possibly can be. I think the amount of stimulus they put in will help football clubs, smaller businesses, bigger businesses, people generally. So I suppose there's a bit of a positive light. It could be a lot worse than it is, but yeah, I mean, there's no doubt there's going to be clubs in administration and that will have to go under and go through some sort of restructuring. Whether or not they get bought back, I'm not sure. I suppose that depends on how quickly the economy and other things recover. But I think also probably the bigger questions that need to be answered longer term around like prize money and TV revenues between the Premier League and the top clubs and the smaller leagues and the smaller clubs. It's the same that, you know, brought in a cost cap in F1, haven't they, as well? Another sport that I follow that is kind of trying to level the teams because I think the big guys, the Mercedes and Ferrari, are spending 2 or 3 times what the smaller guys were, and they can do that because they're brand and they're massive, but it doesn't really help the sport, and the gap's huge. So similar things maybe need to happen in football and other sports. But yeah, it's no doubt going to be difficult, and I'm sure there'll be clubs that go under, unfortunately. And as Andrew said, a lot of players that are out of contract. It's not just clubs, is it? It's the impact on players because wages are generally the biggest part of their expenditure.
What would you say to that, Andrew? Now we've got you back. Do you want to pick up on that one?
Yeah, Tom. I mean, same. I'm talking the same language as Alexander. Obviously, sadly, this virus has caused financial stress for a lot of people and a lot of companies, us included. Lots of people, mate. It's not been easy, has it? I can't see it being easier soon either. And for little clubs, smaller clubs, you know, Fleetwood, teams like that, where they're going to get the money from unless the chairman's got a bigger handbag. They're not get any seat revenue for the next 6 months, possibly between now and Christmas. Certainly no season tickets being sold. Maybe you have to refund some season tickets. Frankly, if Pompey said to us they're going to refund our season tickets, I think most Pompey fans would say, don't worry about it, keep it. We want that club to be safe and well. We know that. I think a lot of other fans would do the same about this season, but it's about revenue they might not get for next season's season tickets, isn't it? So it's all up. I don't know, mate. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it, Tom. But sadly, there will be a lot fall by the wayside, and there might only be 3 leagues for argument's sake, or even 2, perhaps. Who knows? We're going to see the fallout of all of this, haven't we? One thing I would say on players' wages, and Mark Catlin said this many times, Pompey have always been, let's play our way through this, and that's why it's a slow grind. Let's get our team together without going crazy and spending loads of money. You take somebody like Leeds United, if they don't get promoted this season, they've speculated a lot of money this season to get themselves in the position they're in. If they don't get promoted to the promised land, the directors there, the chairman and the people investing in that club could argue they want their money back, and they wanted to get that from the promised land, which is a 200 million from someone like Sky. So if Leeds don't get promoted, you think they could go to the Premier League and be there for 10 years? That could be worth £2 billion. And if they don't get promoted, it's big, big money. We're not talking little money. And sadly, that's what football's all about these days. We'll have to see, mate. It'll be interesting to see what comes of it.
Absolutely. Bit of a gear change now. We're going to head to Owen Scott's question. Owen has asked, it hasn't come up yet. There we go. What's the worst ground you've ever been to? Here's Accrington Stanley away, which I think we'll try and avoid Accrington Stanley because that's probably quite a go-to one for a lot of people.
There's no doubt in my mind which ground this is.
Oh, I think I already.
There's no doubt. St Mary's, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
Good answer. Second.
Of course it is. Bournemouth.
Third, Brighton.
Yeah. Brighton. Poole Town, 4th.
Yeah. We'll take that.
Dorchester.
Yeah, that's always fun to go there.
What about grounds in terms of facility?
Of stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, Accrington's pretty bad, isn't it? I mean, it's quite cool going to Accrington because it's the oldest stadium as well, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's quite an experience. Let's say that.
Last time we went, we sat on in the seats, though, didn't we? To the right of the away fans along the seats, because you had the seats as well as behind the goal. That was all right, wasn't it? It was a bright sunny day, I seem to remember. We got hammered 4-1. I think.
No, we didn't get hammered. It was like we didn't win that game, did we? I thought it was 1-0 to Accrington.
We won
I'm sure.
A few seasons ago. Well, last year we got beaten 4-1, didn't we?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm talking about the one where we filmed there and went there and whatever.
Oh, right.
What about you, Tom? What's your worst ground?
My worst ground, obviously not including St Mary's in that, I think would have to be, I don't know, Accrington Stanley is an Asda car park, isn't it? But I'm just trying to think of a really bad one.
Swindon's not very good, is it? That's out in the open as well. Swindon.
Yeah, Swindon's not great. Southend United's got a bit of character, but the away end's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Scunthorpe as well.
Morecambe, that was pretty poor. We were sitting in the main stand, but behind the goal was I know, Carlisle. That was awful. Carlisle.
Yeah, Carlisle. Hang on. Speak of the devil. Carlisle is terrible. They're close the standing end instead of stickers at the end of the stand on the side, which is behind the ground, in line with the terrace.
Yeah, that's right, Carlisle. Yeah, I'd say Carlisle. Also, it's a long way. Last time we went there, we won 3-0, didn't we?
We did. Last time we went. Was that the last time we played there? I think it was.
No, I think we've played there since.
George says Exeter City are wonderful. I think that's probably up for debate, George, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But we like it. I like Exeter City because that was one of the best hot dogs. I remember.
And they do Cornish pasties there, didn't they?
Cornish pasties as well. Yeah, they were good, and it's not too far.
And our friend plays for him now, doesn't he? Ben Dickinson.
Yeah, Brennan. So with Exeter, George, Exeter City are wonderful. Take it, mate. Run with it. If we finish the season but not promoted, where does this leave Jacket? Says Sean, the legend. Thanks for joining us tonight, mate.
It's the Ledge. Hello, Ledge.
It's the Ledge. Alexander the Negative, I want to come to you on that one, mate. What are your thoughts?
Well, what I think and what will actually happen probably are two different things. I don't think they'll sack him, whatever, to be fair. But I think if we don't get promoted this season, he probably should be. He's had a number of years, hasn't he, to get us up. One of the biggest budgets in the league, one of the biggest fan bases in the league. And I guess you can forgive 1 season, 2 seasons, but when it gets past that, it gets tough, doesn't it? So I'm all for giving managers time and taking a longer term approach and all that stuff that the Pompey board and everyone else talks about. But I suppose ultimately we are and we should be a championship club. So how do we get back there? Well, if after 3 or 4 seasons Kenny can't do it, someone else needs to have a go probably.
Would you agree with that, Andrew? Would that be your thoughts?
Yes, Tom. I think most people would say the same thing. We can't. If we don't get up this season, you could argue this season's been a little bit more tricky because this is a lottery now, isn't it? Anyone could get up. Couldn't they? 3 games to play. Basically, you've got to win 2 games, haven't we, to get promoted now? And if we can't do that, my concern is the teams we're going to play have got probably really good tactical managers that play with a lower budget and with lesser players, you could argue. And I think the danger is if we don't get our tactics right, and that's where we've suffered for the last 2 seasons, I think. Personally, I might be talking out of hand, but I don't dislike Kenny, but I'm saying I worry that we haven't had our tactics right for a lot of games. We haven't had a plan B. A lot of other managers have always got a good plan. Even when at Fratton Park or away, they come with a good plan, don't they? We don't seem to have that same sort of plan. And therefore, playing these next 2 games behind closed doors, this will prove whether Kenny can manage us in the Championship or not. And if he doesn't get us into the Championship this season, regardless, I agree with Alexander. I think we need to give someone else a chance. Because, yeah, I think we do. People might disagree, but the legend, Sean Meads, legend, the Boston legend, he's got his own views as well. Write in now, Sean. Let us know what you think, legend.
Plenty of things to get through. I'm aware of time. So obviously the Eisners will never sack Kenny Jacket, says Pompey God. What are your opinions on the Nigel Clough rumours to Pompey? Hello.
I hadn't actually seen that, but if Nigel Clough wanted to come to
Pompey, he left Burton Albion this morning.
Oh, well, if he wanted to come to Pompey, I'd sack Kenny Jacket today.
Because Nigel Clough's a great manager, or because
Yes, and we'd be in the Championship next season.
even if we
He's
can't
a
play
great football brain, isn't he?
Brilliant.
He's a great football brain.
His dad was a wizard, mate. He took Nottingham Forest to Europe. I agree with Pompey God.
You want to come in on that one, mate?
No, yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's not my decision to make. I guess if we have any run at any, great manager, then we probably should give it a go. But I mean, Kenny's going to get to the end of this season, isn't he? And we'll see under what format the league restarts. If it restarts, then he's got a chance to prove it. And if he gets us promoted through the playoffs, then I guess you've got to give him a go in the Championship. And if not, then maybe Nigel Clough, maybe someone else. Not sure.
Maybe it's a little bit harsh on Kenny to say I'd get rid of him today. I probably wouldn't, to be honest. I would just, if he comes to the market though, Nigel Clough, and we don't get promoted, then I think we should then really have a good look at him, Tom, for sure. But that would be at the end of the season. Let's give Kenny the chance to get us up there.
There's clearly a lot of Pompey fans given the questions that aren't sure on Kenny Jackett, isn't there?
There's not a lot of certainty surrounding management. Let's go for that one. But maybe it's just because we're talking about the subject. I don't know. So I think that follows on quite nicely from Pompey Vlogs' from Pompey Vlogs' question, what you can see on the screen is that if he was sacked, who would you replace with him? Who would you say other than Nigel Clough? Are there any other names that come to mind for you both?
I think it's all a bit futile to think he will be, Tom. I think the Eisners are in this, as I said, the 5 to 10 year plan. They're the other side of the pond. They're not really, to be fair, they're not really English football people, are they? They don't understand it the way we understand it. They look at a long-term plan and a concrete sort of foundation with a group of people that are going to manage this business as it is for the next 5 to 10 years. So I can't actually see him going anywhere, and coronavirus might have got us a little bit out of jail, or him a little bit out of jail this year. It's possible, So I think there can be lots of rumours about different managers, but the people in America don't understand Nigel Clough, do they? Of course, Mark Catlin does, but Mark Catlin, he's not going to make that decision without the backing of the board. They're saying he's staying for 5 to 10 years. Well, we've got to accept it, haven't we? As Alexander said, let's see what happens in the next 2 games.
Anything to add to that, mate?
No, I agree. That's right. I mean, there's no point speculating necessarily on who would replace him at this point. There's lots of options in there. If he was to go, probably someone a bit younger with new ideas, a bit of passion. That's probably who you'd want to see. But I mean, equally could win the next 2 games, get us promoted, and become a cult hero in the next 5 years. So I guess we've got to see what happens, haven't we?
Yeah, if we win the next 2 games, we'll build a statue outside Fratton Park for him, wouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the way we are.
I'd also like to say Pompey God's come back in and said that Clough has it in his genes, which I think we're all agreed on. But Marcus Harness was under Nigel Clough and his time at Burton Albion. So I don't know. I think that maybe it's written in the stars for something like that. But anyway, let's not speculate too much. We've got plenty to get through. We've got a couple more questions coming in. Duncan Hart has said the evening sunshine is too tempting to stay inside. I would say to you, Duncan, take us outside with you. You're on a portable flat platform. Take us outside on your phone. Please do. Adam Muscat has come in saying, what is the most underrated player, or who is the most underrated player at Pompey? Quick as you can, boys. What would be your response to that one?
I'll just respond to the previous question first, Tom, about going outside in the sunshine. He's got another 3 months of that, mate, on furlough, so you don't need to worry about it one evening.
And then what about the one about the underrated players? Or have we lost him again? I think we've lost him again. Go for it.
What your most underrated player at Pompey?
He's still reading the question.
Well, I'm trying to understand it, but basically we're saying, who is your most underrated player, yeah?
Is it because you can't see what's on the screen?
Yeah, I can't see it in this distance, so I'm watching it on the big screen on to my right.
He's only just learnt to read.
Yeah, that's very true.
I can't read. It's in Braille. What there?
Yeah. Go on. Is there any? I'd say.
Who's the most underrated player?
Who would you say?
Naylor, I think.
Tom Naylor.
Yeah, I think he's underrated. I think he does a lot of work in the midfield. that
I like
doesn't
him
get.
too. I like him too.
Yeah, I think he works really hard. He never has a bad game, does he? You never look at him and think he's had a shocker. Whereas a lot of players in our squad have had one or two poor ones. He is not. Doesn't generally be one of them. He might have a quiet half or something, but he generally, I think he generally probably one of the most consistent. And he's the sort of player I think who's clever enough. He's maybe not. He's not as physical as you'd like to see in the Championship in terms of speed and strength. But I mean, he's not strong. But I think he's the sort of player that, as a football brain, he could do it in that league. He'd be one that would stay with us, I think.
You got a quick answer, Andrew, or can I move on?
Tom. Have we got through all the questions, Tom? Was there some to answer?
We've got a few more, but I've got one. I'd like to move on a little bit because it was a little bit to get through. So I wanted you both to enlighten the viewers that have joined us this evening about the story of Pedro Mendez. And
story of Pedro Mendez.
I think you can probably both talk a little bit in turn about the day, but I'll go to Alex first. I mean, what do you, I know you were quite young, but what's your what stands out for you? But various points through that day, I would imagine. Obviously the 2 goals, but what else surrounding the whole occasion?
Well, I guess it was a point at which we thought we were down, didn't we? Like that was it to start with. I think it was 1-0 at half time, wasn't it? Man City. And I think were we 9 points off the greatest deficit ever or something with 10 games left. And yeah, we just, I don't know, it was that moment, even a draw wasn't good enough. And I think we were 1-1 with whatever 10 minutes to go, weren't we? And then it got to literally the last kick, and we had a corner. And I turned to Dad and said, Andrew, I should say, and said, if we don't score now, we're down, aren't we? And he looked at me, and he would never say, what he's like. He's always too positive, unlike me. And he said, yeah, I think you're right. And the corner came in, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Vincent Kompany for them, headed it out. It bounced on the edge of the box, and that was it. And then we'd sort of quickly looked at each other. That was it. That's done. We're down. Good night, Vienna. And then Pedro took a little tap, didn't he, over whoever the guy running out was, and then just hit the most spectacular volley ever and banged it in the top corner. And I've never seen, the only other time I can remember a crowd being like that was David Norris at Southampton, when it was that last kick of the game again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the volley was incredible, and the Fratton then just went absolutely berserk. It was just incredible. And for some reason, within 2 minutes, we'd gone from everyone in the ground believing we were down to everyone in the ground believing we were staying up, and we were still 9 points off or 7 points off or whatever. But then we won 6 of the next 8 games. It was like a moment that just turned the season. It was incredible.
Yeah, I agree. That was Pedro, and also I sold Pedro some lights at his house because he was living in Sandbanks.
Did you give him for free after that?
No, I didn't give him for free. It was before that, actually. It was before that, yeah. I went to his house. Actually, it's a true story. I went to his house, met his wife, met his 2 daughters.
Mendez.
He had 2 daughters at the time. I'm not sure if he's got any more kids now, but at the time he had 2 daughters, and he was living in Sandbanks, and he asked me to go and look at some lighting for him. So I went there, and a mate of mine set the appointment up, and I went there, and Pedro wasn't in. So I just met his wife. I didn't meet Pedro.
Nice one.
Yeah.
I sort of hung around.
He wasn't in. I just happened to turn up when he wasn't in.
Yeah, I kept saying to his wife, what time will Pedro be back then, do you think? And she said, I don't know, back sometime. I'm thinking, I'll take my time. I was in there for about 3 hours waiting, You
never met him?
No, well, actually, it's a lie. He did come in. He came in the driveway as I was leaving. I sort of just went like that, So,
right. And you haven't been back since to issue a refund because of his services to your football club?
No, I'm not sure he's living in Portugal again now, but he was from Portugal, wasn't he? So I think he probably went back there.
Yeah.
Some more interesting things on to answer.
Well, that's another story you've never told me. So there we go. Right. I think we've got a couple more coming in. Pompey Vlogs has said, who would you give the player of the season to based on this season so far? I think that either has to be Ronan Curtis, Marcus Harness, or who else? Ollie Hawkins.
Alan and Sam would give it to Raggett, wouldn't they?
Yeah, Sean Raggett's a good shout for that as well.
No, he's the most improved in the last few weeks, but again, I don't think he's done some crazy things over the season, hasn't he? But
no one wants the most improved badge, though, mate, do they?
No, mine I think would be this season. Christian Burgess has been brilliant. The last half season.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah,
and
I'd probably go Marcus Harness, I think.
And
that's about right.
And Christian Burgess is a really, really nice chap.
Yeah,
I do like Burgess. I think he's quality, but yeah, I don't know if he's been consistent enough across the whole season. Okay. I would love to give it to Ronan Curtis, but I actually don't. I think he was better last year than he was this year.
Yeah, latterly he's got better. The last 6 to 10 games he's got better. But I know what you're saying. He came out like a bullet when he first joined us, didn't he? And then went off the boil a bit, and then he's come back. This season, I think he's done well.
Right. Yeah, okay. We're going to leave the comments for the time being. I want to play a little game with everyone. It is time. Are you ready for this, boys? For the big Fournilwrittenalloverit Pompey quiz.
Oh, gosh.
Boom. Right. How this is going to work. 3 questions each. And then a player profile at the end in which I will read out 3 statements about a player. You need to guess who it is to each of you, in turn. First statement, if you get it in the first statement, you get 3 points. If you get it after 2 statements, you get 2 points. If you get it after 1 statement, you get 1 point. And then if you don't get it, you get 0 points, basically. That's how it's going to work. So, who wants to go first?
Go on, I'll go first.
Right. Okay. Camera's on you, big boy. Camera's on you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. In which year did the PST sell the club to the Tornante Group?
2018.
2017. Who was the Pompey manager at the time of the club's most recent promotion to League One?
Cookie.
Yes, correct. Well done. What is the full name of Pompey's kit manager?
Oh, Tom, behave. I don't know.
I'll give you a clue. His nickname's Kev the Kit Man.
I know he's Kev the Kit Man, but I don't know his surname, bud.
You've met him. He's been on the show.
I didn't say to him, what is your full name, Kev the Kit Man?
Right. 1 point.
I must do that every time we go back now away on 4 I'll say, what's your full name?
You know, like Kenny Jacket. You call him Kenny, but you know he's called Kenny Jacket.
Just in case there's another coronavirus 20 next year, then you've got to put me on this show and then you can ask me questions about people's real names.
That's fine, mate. I'll take great pleasure in doing so. Right, are you ready for your player profile, which is the bit that gets you the most points?
Okay.
Right. Who am I? My most recent managerial role was at Kerala Blasters in the Indian Super League. This is a Pompey player.
Previous Pompey player or current?
Previous.
Yeah.
Previous Pompey player. He's got 1,000.
He's got a job at the minute because he's on furlough.
Right. You not got a clue then, no?
Give us another question.
Okay. There's 1 point gone. I am the oldest goalkeeper to make an FA Cup final appearance.
David James.
Well done. 2 points. Massive.
Did David James ever get into management?
We need a job.
Indian Super League. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Right. Andrew, very respectable 3 out of 6, mate. Well done.
To be fair, David James has always been a bit partial to onion bargies, so that's probably why.
That's probably why. That's probably right. Right, Alexander Neckers, are you ready?
Hey, before you say that, do you not ever see you should change it and put an onion bargie on his head every week?
That's very true. Are you ready, mate?
If my questions are as hard as that, I'm going to struggle to get 3.
You're okay. You'll be all right. You'll get a few of them.
Okay, come on then.
I reckon you'll get more than 3 because Dan hasn't got a clue. Sorry, Andrew hasn't got a clue. Right. Who was the Pompey kit sponsor when we won the FA Cup back in 2008?
I know who
Who's
this is.
the Pompey
I
kit
know.
sponsor?
Can I come in?
No, you can't.
No.
I'll give you a clue, Alexander. It was to do with little bears.
I was literally going to say TY. Is that right?
You're right.
Incorrect.
Oh,
Oh.
OKI is the correct answer.
Oh, yeah, true.
Previous season, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was a season before it was the teddy bears, yeah.
We had
Right.
I remember we had those on at Wembley, and Alan and Sam had the OKI one. Oki.
Who was the Pompey manager at the time when Pedro Mendez scored twice against Manchester City in 2006?
Harry Redknapp.
Correct, well done. Pompey won the League Two title in 2017, but what was the scoreline on the final day against Cheltenham Town?
Oh, I know this.
Tension is building.
Final day scoreline.
It was a big number, wasn't it?
Did we win 4-0?
No, more than that.
No. Andrew?
5-1.
6-1.
6-1.
6-1.
Right.
Yeah, I do remember it being a good win.
You have 1 point out of 3. So we need your Pompey player profile. You need to get it in the first 2 statements to be tied, or the first one
to win.
Okay, here we go. Who am I? I was Pompey's player of the season in 2015. It's worth a punt for 3 points.
5 years ago.
To take the victory.
What league were we in 5 years ago? League Two.
Oh, it's got to be in it.
I think he knows who it is, but don't say it, please.
Oh, Connor Chaplin.
No, incorrect.
Oh no!
Was it?
No. Shush. Right. I am now a player at Championship side Millwall.
Oh, Jed Wallace.
Jed Wallace, he's got it.
I should have called that first. I got distracted because the big man started getting excited, and I thought he only gets excited when Colin Chaplin comes on. So I thought it must be him. But yeah, Jed Wallace, yeah, good player to be fair. Good player.
At work.
And we better say that, Tom. We better mention to that Millwall fan we're coming to get Jed back as well.
Yeah, we're having Jed as well. So 2 Millwall players coming back to Fratton Park, right? Because you could not decide.
Tiebreaker.
You could not decide. Well, you could not be split, boys. You could not be split. You both got 3 points each, which means we go to deadlock. Douche. Are you ready for the tiebreaker? Reverend,
yes.
ready?
Not
ready.
Right,
okay, here we go. What is the current Fratton Park capacity to the nearest seat?
Is it its closest wins it?
19,000.
Wait a second. The closest will win it, yes. And Alex on the negative is going to go first.
Oh no, I don't want to go first.
Okay, Andrew's going to go first. Go on then.
19,350.
Oh.
So I think it's more than that. I think it's
not.
I'm not going to say my answer. I think it could be closer or above 20,000. So you said 19,350. So I'm going to say 19,351.
And Alex on the negative takes it. The correct answer is 19,669.
Oh, to be fair, I wouldn't have got closer than if I'd have gone first, he would have won that. I wouldn't have got as close as that.
Oh, it's time to wrap it. Tom, it's time to wrap it up now.
I know it is. That's it, mate. But to be fair, you do win the Pompey cushion.
Oh, fantastic! Post it up there, mate.
So there you go. We'll post it up.
If you could disinfect it before you put it in the post, that'd be perfect.
We will do, absolutely. We're going to
pick the questions up quickly.
Yeah, we're going to quickly go to a couple more questions. We've got the last one I want to finish on probably is from Free Maths Lessons, which I think Andrew will need a few of after the end of the stream. But Fleetwood, Oxford and Wickham, is it the easiest playoffs in the world? And what are our thoughts?
Well, the Northern Premier, or whatever it's called now, is going to be a bit easier than that, but it's not too bad, is it? It's not too bad. it's not. I guess you can always say we should win it, but I suppose those teams are up there, aren't they, for reasons as well. So yeah, I mean, I hope it's easy, but I don't know. I think it's going to be difficult for the players to get the same motivation in crowdless stadiums, and probably concerned about their health when playing as well. So who knows? But yeah, I was saying the other day, I think if they played 11 Pompey fans, we'd probably be too mental enough that we'd win it.
Before we go to Andrew's answer, if you want to see this again next week, perhaps with a different kind of guest, or we can have some questions from you at the same time, we'll have Andrew and Alex on the negative back. We'll also be joined by Ollie next week. If you'd like to see that, put a comment in the live chat saying yes now, and we will act on your response. Andrew, Fleetwood, Oxford, Wycombe, are those the easiest playoffs in the world? And the big question, do you see Pompey going up should the playoffs go in the way that we expect them to go, in fact, that the playoffs actually will get played?
So I mentioned earlier, I think it will go to that, and I think those are the teams we're looking at. Mathematics, what's the guy called? Free maths lessons. You've done your calculations well. Alexander did a degree in maths as well, didn't he? In fact, you did a master's in maths. You should work this out quickly enough. This Oxford, Fleetwood and Wycombe are three very difficult teams to play. Out of those ones, I think Oxford and Wycombe, the two we'd like to avoid, really.
Probably going to have to play one of them.
Yeah.
Law of probability would say we're going to play one of them, aren't we?
Okay.
We're going to play both two of them, aren't we?
Very quickly, a big hello to Pompey 8, who's in the KFC drive-through waiting an hour for his food with the Fournilwrittenalloverit live stream on his phone. Thank you for being with us. Before we do go, we've got yes. So who fancies doing it all again next Tuesday?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much to my colleagues. That is it from us for now. You've been with us for an hour and you've been fantastic. So thank you for all your questions. Sorry, Andrew, go for it.
Tom, if there are any unanswered questions, we can answer them next week, can't we?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we will do. Thank you to Alex on the negative. Anything to say to your viewers this evening, mate?
No, just thanks for watching. Thanks for having me. And everyone keep safe and well as well. That's the most important thing.
Andrew, you got anything to add to that, mate?
Me too, Tom. Everyone keep safe and well. Keep your distance, obviously. Let's try and get through this and get back to watching Pompey proper on at Fratton Park. Looking forward to it, mate, aren't we? Desperate.
Perfect. Thank you very much to the pair of you for joining me. That is it from us. We will see you next week on the Fournilwrittenalloverit Lockdown Live. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Bye-bye.